hits it high, hits it well to left. Wilson going way back, way back. It is
When you think of Thurman Munson, you think about the total package. This man he could run. I mean, most catchers back then, I mean, you know, these guys would just go base to base. Thurman would take you first to third in a minute. I mean, if you needed RBI, he can take you to right field and get this patented line drive to right field and driving runs. If you needed a home run, he could turn on you and take you deep. I mean, the total package. I don't think, even when you're talking about the great catches of the game, and he's obviously up there, I mean, none of those guys really did everything well like Thurman did. That's what I mean. He did everything that was necessary to win.
And once again, listen to the band. Payoff pitch to Baylor. Swung on and missed. Got him with a breaking ball.
Having him there, everybody kind of revolved around him, because you could take me out of the game. You could take me out, and they could still play and win. You could take anybody else out, and they could probably still win. But if you took Thurman out, our chances of winning were half.
This is the story of a man and his team. A man who never quit when he was down. A man who motivated his teammates with his clutch play and blunt character. A man who led and came to represent a most unique group of champions. This is the story of Thurman Munson, captain of the New York Yankees. His father named him after an athlete called Thurman Lee. The boy never learned who Thurman Lee was, but on the playing fields around Canton, Ohio, folks got to know who Thurman Munson was.
Even as a child, you could, if he weren't doing chores, which he grew up in some difficult times, and he had to cut lawns and those kind of things. But as soon as he was done doing any of the chores, he would automatically go to the baseball diamond or the basketball court or whatever. But he was always doing something in sports. I can't ever remember him not being in sports. And he really loved it.
He also loved a young blonde named Diana Dominic, who he met when he was 12. The bonds discovered at that early age went deep enough to last a lifetime.
I was a tomboy, and I loved sports my entire life. And so Thurman and I would many times end up on the same basketball court or whatever. Of course, you know, there was obviously no competition, but I think he enjoyed the fact that I was willing to play right along with the guys. And it was funny because he never really looked at the girls who were, you know, very prim and proper and all of that. Maybe because of his family and his, you know, tough growing up period, I don't know. But he liked something about that. And so we grew up as friends, but obviously we found something in each other that we liked, we needed. I like to say we molded each other, but he was really my first love and I was his first love.
Munson excelled at all sports, but as a high school shortstop made the All-Ohio baseball team. He believed he got his desire and grit from an over-demanding father who he termed the original hard-nosed competitor.
Thurman's dad fancied himself as a pretty good baseball player himself, and the two of them would play out on a field, and Thurman's dad would hit him a lot of ground balls, and sometimes Thurman might come out of it with a bloody nose on a bad hop, and his father would say, "Just keep playing, we'll take care of the nose later." He was a pretty hard-driving guy.
His father taught him how to be tough. You know, it may not be the way you would do it or I would do it, but it was his way, and Thurman used that to toughen up and to become more dedicated and to prove to his father that he in fact could do it. I think there was a lot of "I'll show you" in the way that Thurman went through his life.
He showed him he was good enough to win a full scholarship to nearby Kent State, where he abandoned basketball and became a catcher and field leader on Dick Paskert's baseball club.
The qualities of Thurman's athletic ability combined with leadership were very much evident during his high school years and on into college. I think that was as attractive in a scouting report as his innate ability. He was a guy who You knew even before he got to the major leagues was going to turn this franchise around, because he was not going to accept a mediocre performance on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or a season-long basis.
I think that Thurman had leadership qualities from day one. He, you could just see that in him. His peers could see that in him. And even if guys on his own team didn't like him, you know, Thurman was tough. He was caustic. His humor was caustic in many ways. And even if you didn't like him, you couldn't help but have admiration for him and have a certain respect for him. And out of that respect and admiration, if you gave him a chance, ordinarily you would get to like him.
In his senior year, Munson hit .419 and made college All-American. His coach assured Kent State alumni, Gene Michael, that Munson was the real McCoy.
When Thurman played there, Richard Paskert was the coach, and he had a lot of good things to say about Thurman. I didn't know what kind of an athlete he was, but he used to tell me that he's going to hit 300 in the big leagues. He said, if he played in the big leagues right now, he's going to hit 300. I said, Dick, I said, that's too soon. I said, you're saying, well, we all know that Thurman's first full year, he hit 301 or 2.
The legacy was inescapable. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio. Names made legend well before Thurman's own childhood, with the notable exception of Mickey Mantle. The normally unimpressionable Munson had to admit he was thrilled to shake hands with his boyhood idol in 1968. That was the year in which the squatty, hard-hitting young catcher was selected as the nation's 4th draft pick by the most famous organization in sports, the New York Yankees.
The name Thurman Munson was hardly a secret from anybody. Everybody knew Thurman was, you know, one of the players you draft high on your list. He arrived in the summer of '69. It was the first look any of us ever had of him. By then, the Yankees had been mediocre to bad for like 5 years. And some of the people in the organization and on the field had sort of grown accustomed to this. As we're a 500 ball club, it's a good season if we finish 5 or 6 games over 500. Thurman was not going to accept that, not from day one.
Oh, there's the volley floater, and it's fouled back. And Munson makes the catch. Holy cow, what a play by Thurman Munson.
First time I met Thurman, I said, this is really a cocky kid from Northern Ohio, from Kent State University. We called him Squatty Body. We hit on him so hard. Gene Michael used to rip Munson, because even though he was from Kent State, they both played the same place, and it was funny, you know, but Munson took it well. Very cocky kid, self-confident. If he saw a situation, Thurman would identify problems and talk about them, and he became a leader. He was a great competitor. He did not like to lose. He wanted everybody to play as hard as he did, and that's a lot of leaders have that.
I was probably the closest to him at the time. We roomed together for 5 years, and he came in, and I told Bill Kane that if you need someone, put him with me. I'll try to take care of him, see if I can control him. He's a little bit tough to control, you know. He had a lot of answers right away. He got away with more things as a rookie than most players would. For some reason, they accepted Thurman quickly, his brashness and that. But he really wasn't that way. He was very concerned and compassionate in a lot of ways.
As the American League Rookie of the Year in 1970, Thurman quickly established himself as a take-charge, in-your-face backstop. Helping to stoke his competitive fire was the legacy begun by Bill Dickey, and later continued in the 1950s by Yogi Berra and Elston Howard, of legendary Yankee catchers.
He loved the linkage of Dickey, Berra, Howard, Munson. He liked being part of that. He personally arranged for a group photo of them at an old-timers day. So he was becoming swept away by the Yankee legacy here.
The legacy, of course, was winning. The more Munson took charge, the more the Yankees began to look and act like winners.
If Thurman was on your case, and I don't want to say reprimanding you, but telling you have to apply yourself more, you have to do this or you have to do that because you know you're capable of it, it meant he liked you. So he loved me because he never gave me a moment's peace. It was, come on, you got to do this, you got to do that. Why didn't you steal this base? Why didn't you? So you would want to go out there to do it just to get him off your back.
In his first 4 seasons, Munson twice hit 300 and earned a rep as a tough out with power. But good as he was, the media seemed more enamored with another young catcher up in Boston named Fisk.
All the years that I was playing with him and Carlton Fisk was in the league, there was a real rivalry there. And Thurman didn't come out and say it, but I'll tell you what I used to do. Anytime I could get a picture or of a magazine or something of Carlton Fisk, I would stick it in Thurman's locker. And I had more fun with this. He knew that somebody was doing it regularly, but he never knew for sure who was most of the time. It was me. I'd love to see his reaction. I'd put it in his locker, then I'd walk away, and I'd see his approach when he'd come to it. He'd hum those magazines in the locker. You know, it was a rivalry. It really was.
George Steinbrenner purchased the Yankees in 1973 and made it clear that he intended to restore the team to its former glory. The Yankees would stay in the Bronx as the stadium was refurbished. Steinbrenner brought Gabe Paul from Cleveland, who wasted little time in acquiring from the Indians both Chris Chambliss and Craig Nettles. An earlier trade with Boston brought reliever Sparky Lyle, and a deft deal with Pittsburgh snared rookie Willie Randolph. In 1975, Steinbrenner signed celebrated free agent Catfish Hunter, and then lured Casey Stengel's favorite son, Billy Martin, back to the Bronx to manage them all to victory.
The presence of Munson very much turned around the thinking of the team. Munson made the team play to win a pennant, not play to win a particular game.
They just knew we don't have to touch the catching position. He's there for 10 years. We can build around him. That's a pretty good advantage. The team is strong up the middle, and you've got one of those positions in place for 10 years. You've got a jump start on building a team. So it was not easy, but it was pretty obvious how they had to build around. But Munson was the constant, and he was going to be there, and he was going to be one of the leaders.
In 1976, Munson and the Yankees began entering their prime. That was the year he was named captain.
George Steinbrenner's idea was to name him captain, although when Lou Gehrig, the previous captain, had died, it was felt that that title was sort of retired from the Yankees. Hence, no one who followed Gehrig, not DiMaggio, Mantle, Maris, Yogi, none of them held the title of captain. But Steinbrenner felt Thurman is deserving of this title, and with all due respect to Lou Gehrig, here's a guy that Gehrig would have been proud of. And while he didn't do any particular function as team captain in '76 that he hadn't done earlier, he may have found himself more leading by example than ever before.
By example meant having his best year yet. A .302 average, 105 RBIs, and the American League MVP award. Munson's men decisively won the division, then battled Kansas City to the final inning of the ALCS.
Mark Littell delivers high drive, hits it right center field. That's gone. It is gone. Chris Chambliss has won the American League pennant for the New York Yankees.
As joyous as the pennant-winning moment was, the subsequent World Series was at best a bummer. Cincinnati's Big Red Machine won 4 straight, making the Yankees look like debutantes, with the distinct exception of the captain, who hit .500 and tied a series record with 6 straight hits.
That's almost got him flat hit now. He is really a good hitter. Woo, he's a good hitter. That mother can hit, can he? Oh, he can hit. He just stays right with the ball. He doesn't do anything. He just stays right there and keeps everything in and goes with the ball.
Thurman Munson, I believe, was at his best when it was time to really show what you were all about. Playoff World Series. I mean, you look at his stats, they're phenomenal. After all those years of kind of being mediocre up and down as a team, I mean, with the Yankees, once we got into the postseason picture, we didn't want to let that go. There was a certain pride, there was a certain attitude that we would exude. Thurman, he was the head of that whole class. I mean, he wasn't going to let us forget that it's been a long time coming. And once we get our foot in the door, let's stay there, let's run with it or whatever, and just show people what we're all about.
.1977. With a pennant under their cap, the Yankees shopped for more. Free agent Reggie Jackson was to be the final straw to stir the World Championship drink. But when excerpts from an interview were leaked assailing the Yankee captain, many wondered if the pinstripes could keep the drink down.
Reggie liked to go out and do a good job and say, hey, didn't I do a good job? Midwesterners aren't like that. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with the friction, if there indeed was friction between Munson and Jackson. Yet I'm sure there was a mutual respect, because Jackson had to respect what Munson did and was doing, and Munson had to also respect the job that